a mixed bag today in crypto with some very, very, very green bubbles and some red bubbles alike. So, everything volatile, things moving left and right, nothing particularly happening in the market apart from people waiting for tomorrow's data to come out or not. So, Binance doing well, Hype doing well, this AI token melting faces and then making people cry, dumping, pumping, dumping, pumping. But XRP looking okay. It's, doing the same thing effectively, doing a little bit of a pump, a little bit of a dump, a little bit of pump, a little bit of dump. Reason being, of course, that nothing's happening in the market. Bitcoin isn't doing anything either. If you have a look, it's sort of trying to recover. But again, it's doing pretty much the same thing. Recovery, a bit of a dump. Just like everything else. The reason being, it's a kind of a slow news week, even though it's not actually slow for XRP, but it is slow for Bitcoin and slow for everything else. I'm going to show you guys a couple of websites and a couple of places to look when there's a slow news so you can get an idea of what's actually happening in the background. You know how Ripple is planning to take over the entire planet when it comes to finance and payment and all that sort of stuff. Well, a lot of these activities are happening actually in broad daylight, in plain sight. You just have to sort of know where to look, right? Yes, a lot of it is happening in the back with handshakes behind doors, behind closed doors, under the table activities and stuff. But a lot of it is just, in conferences and forums that are attended by these giant organizations and their big CEOs and executives. And a lot of it is, televised or recorded for people to watch. It's just, you've got to find out where those things are. The one big problem, of course, is that we have social media, which is very, very loud these days. And there are a lot of people talking about, XRP doing this, Ripple doing that, Bitcoin is this and that. And that stuff can be really distracting from what's actually really going on. Here is an example of a post from a digital asset investor who has quite a huge following actually on social media on X. Yeah. And when I first saw this, I missed the quotes, which basically him saying that somebody else said that. And I misconstrued that to be him saying that. And then when I clicked on his profile and realized, or her profile, I have no idea if it's a man or woman, I found out that they also have a YouTube channel and with a huge following, right? With 5,000 videos, 250,000 followers, and a lot of it XRP related. So I said, well, this is some sort of XRP bull, even though, they're kind of faceless and it's just social media posts of what other people are saying about XRP, which is an interesting business model. Shout out to whoever owns this channel, probably making quite a fair bit of money doing this. But it turns out that the person behind this is actually XRP bullish, but either the internet doesn't understand that or they're also being sarcastic in response to his post. Here's an example of a post that he made a few hours ago. Ripple is a goofy business. For more than a decade now, the company has held vast quantities of magic beans known as XRP, which it dumps onto the market at regular intervals. It's not clear why anyone needs these beans, these magic beans, but people buy them anyway. And that has made Ripple very rich. So rich that this week it casually spent $1 billion to buy a treasury business management company called G Treasury. The question is how much longer Ripple can keep its magic bean factory humming. And then you have responses like, clearly a sarcastic one. Problem is that their beans are so expensive now that the market is loaded with competitors offering equivalent or better technologies. No, there's nobody with better technology at the moment. It seems to me that XRP would be the company that was a bit grammatical issues, too early for the market. Now, obviously, I don't know if that's sarcasm, but so many things wrong with that statement. And then this person actually writes in cohesive English, and they've got a tick there, which they're pro crypto apparently. Ripple holds over 40 billion XRP. They hold 4.9 billion directly and in escrow. They have built their entire business selling XRP. They won't run out of beans. Don't think they won't be buying back in the depths of a bear market. The narrative running for XRP suits Ripple Ripple and its business plan. Both the people that love XRP and believe it will make them mega rich are the very people that have collectively built Ripple by being dumped on. Oh. If anything, there's a lot of emotions about, Ripple and XRP. I mean, I'll give you an example, right? I don't care for Coin, for instance, right? But you wouldn't see me posting anything about Coin on social media. I won't go on PayPay Army or whatever it is that their community is and continually post about it and continuously leave messages about it. It seems to me that there's a lot of people who hate XRP and hate Ripple as a company that continuously spend their time posting about it on social media. It's amazing. So they wait for XRP to go down and they rejoice. And then when XRP does a 5x, everyone moans about how, oh no, look, Ripple is making so much money. It's a really strange world. But, if you want to leave all this nonsense behind and do your own actual research, you can actually just go on Ripple's actual website. They have a blog. To get there, you go to resources, blog, and then you can see their latest posts. Their latest post was actually quite interesting. Crypto interoperability, why global regulatory convergence is key to stablecoin fungibility. Now, that sounds incredibly boring to 99% of people. But if you actually just look through the article, it's actually quite interesting. It's loaded with a lot of good information. It's interesting that I said boring. If you look at point number 4, they say stable coins should be boring. They should be boring, right? That's quite interesting. But what I find more valuable actually with Ripple's posts, blog posts, apart from the fact that they're genuine and they're coming from a legitimate source and they're not full of fake news and fear mongering, is the links that they provide you. If you look at all these links in blue, they often lead to places where you can carry out more research and learn more about the process and what's going on. So for instance, this point zero forum is one that I've been following for a while, and it is an incredible forum. Let me just show you. So this is point zero forum, as you can see. You just go to their partners. So this forum basically lists global forums around the world where some of these big financial organizations meet up. If you just go to their partners, you can see what I'm talking about, right? They have gold partners, silver partners, bronze partners, knowledge partners, community, right? A lot of these names you probably recognize. Look at the top echelon. There it is. You have Ripple, one of their biggest partners in the gold category. You also have Coinbase, Bybit, Binance, okay? All of these are either crypto companies or blockchain-based companies, right? And if you look at the second level, you have the infamous R3. Again, R3, their own website, is an interesting place to go and learn about the goings on when it comes to payments and tokenization of real world assets and what's happening in the background. Remember, R3 was once, married effectively to Ripple and leveraging the XRP ledger for their activities. Now they've sort of spiraled off in their own direction, but interoperability with the XRP ledger is still a thing. They're more sort of married now to Solana, not directly, but using some of their frameworks. I'll show you that in a minute. Digital 9, Fireblocks, Visa is a big one, Swift is a big one. Okay, 2 big competitors for Ripple. And then on the bronze level, you have, conglomerates like Amazon, AWS, who provide infrastructure for some of these services, as we noticed 2 days ago when AWS had a problem. Of course, Chainlink, which kind of holds everything together. You have Cardano Foundation, and so on and so forth, right? Now, talking about R3, I've always wondered why they're R3 and not B3 or X3. Whether that R had anything to do with Ripple in the beginning, who knows? There's probably some reason to it that I don't know, or I've forgotten or whatever. All right, so the future of financial markets is digital. And as you can see there, they're spending much money on investments, on-chain assets, etc. There it is. You can see the Solana link there. You've got the other trustees, nothing Ripple-like or XRP-like, except for SBI Holdings, who of course are connected to Ripple in all sorts of ways. That's their Solana toolkit. So now they're using Solana. They've got a Solana toolkit. So not XRP, but compatible, but they are using Solana. Okay, just clearing that out of the air, because you hear a lot of people talk about XRP and R3, blah, blah, blah. Yes, when they were being built in the beginning, they did effectively fork the XRP ledger, and Ripple played a massive role in developing some of their stuff for them. Hence, their actual infrastructure and their architecture is still sort of based on the XRP ledger, and they are compatible in terms of messaging and things like that. But their actual blockchain that they're using now is on the public facing end, a Solana based system. Okay, so shout out to Solana for taking the sloppy seconds. So here's another partner of Ripple's called Global Digital Finance. They collaborate with Ripple to create documents and research and stuff like that you can read. There's a lot of information here on, what's happening, what events are coming up, what releases are happening, what work has been doing in the background concerning global payments, tokenization of real world assets. It's just a lot of actual factual information. Now, if you're wondering what level of information is, if you look at the meetings that happen, Point Zero Forum 2026 will be happening in, I think, South Africa or something like that. There was one that happened in June in Zurich, Switzerland, and you can look at all of the highlights of what they talked about. These are some of the people that spoke at the event. TRM Labs executives from Arta Finance, Microsoft Switzerland. Very interesting. We had someone here from Cardano, someone here from Ripple. All these are big banks in different countries. Global Finance from Switzerland. These are, you have Frederic Regard from Cardano Foundation, Google Cloud Switzerland. So these are really important people, executives in high places, as I like to call them. And you can listen to some of their speeches that they gave. You can, see who's saying what. You can see all the sponsors of the event. Again, you have, Ripple here. Also, you can apply to attend one if you want, I guess. Click on what you're interested in, and then you submit, and then you go from there. So you can actually physically attend these things as well, so you can hear from the horse's mouth. So there's a lot of information out there. This is why, personally, I don't really fall for any of the social media nonsense when people make comments like, someone's creating magic beans. Nobody knows why they're here. No one knows what their token is being used for. When out in the open, you have all this information about exactly what's happening, what token is being used for what plans are being made, foundations have been laid. These same people, when these foundational things start getting rolled out in 2026, 2027, they will be the ones that will also complain to you that all of this stuff happened behind closed doors. Nobody knows what World Organization is planning. Woohoo, waha. When all of this stuff is just out in the open, they're telling you that, XRP is going to run everything. Stable coins are going to take over. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can literally hear them saying it. These are big organizations. I'll leave all these resources in the description as usual if you want to go ahead and peruse that yourself and do some actual real research rather than listening to crazy people on the internet, on YouTube and X. The unfortunate thing though is that videos like this don't get that many views because they're so boring. Who cares about what's actually happening, right? What people really want to hear is me say, hey, we're going to be rich, blah, blah, blah. Those videos get 10 times as many views, which is why YouTubers make those videos. It is what it is. Not financial advice, no legal advice, no tax advice, and not political advice. I will see you in the next one. Peace.